Hey guys, it's Devin from Prepping to Survive, and in today's video, I'm going to be teaching you guys how to improve soil quality. Your soil is what holds water, feeds your plants, establishes good roots, and best of all, it gets you a good harvest each year. With that said, smash the like button for a decade of good soil. Let's get into it. So the first method is the most common. That is simply adding compost to your soil. That's the most basic. Most gardeners do it. It also is one of the most beneficial. Compost helps increase water retention in any soil. Did you guys know that for every 5% increase in organic material, there's a 4 times water retention, and adds nutrients into the soil for your plants to absorb and to add into your harvest. Compost is extremely easy to make at home. All you need is a bin to put your compost in and the right ingredients, so browns to greens, and anyone can do it with their kitchen scraps, or you can go to your local restaurants, you can go to your local cafes, go to your neighbors. You can get free composting material fairly easy and simply for free. In the description below, I'm going to have a link to my video, how to get 100% free compost in the city. That'll help you guys get a kickstart to your compost production. So the second method is using cover crops over your winter. And for people that are in hotter climates for their winter time, they do it to just kind of give the soil a break. And then for the winter, for the colder climates, they use the cover crops to protect the soil during the season that they cannot plant. It is also used to fix nitrogen in the soil. It essentially covers the soil and acts as an insulation during the harsh winter months. In the spring, when you end up turning your cover crops over, it adds organic material, adds nitrogen, and it adds microbes into the soil, which also revitalizes your soil. So what I like to do for my cover cropping is 15 to 45 days before my first frost date, depending on my schedule, I will plant my cover crops, and then what I do is I'll chop it as close to the soil as possible. I'll leave my roots in the soil, and then it just kind of acts like a green topping on top of your soil, and that's the protection itself. And then over time, it'll work its way into the soil, adding nutrients, adding nitrogen, adding humus production, microbes, all that good stuff. Some of the cover crops that I use is red clovers, winter rye, annual ryegrass, hairy vetch. Those are all really good ones to use, and I'll have a link in the description for you to find them. So the third method is to add mulch into your soil, or over top of your soil, I guess. But what it does is it adds a layer between the sun and the soil to protect the soil. So it preserves the nutrients in the soil and the life of the soil. Your mulch will break down over time and add nutrients into the soil, but compared to compost, it's not really for that. It's just to preserve your soil. One thing mulch is extremely good for is it regulates root temperatures for a better harvest, and it keeps moisture inside the soil, so you'll water less and you'll spend less on your water bill. The fourth method I have for you guys is to add manure into your soil. The one thing to keep in mind to prevent illness or diseases is don't add your manure when you're going to harvest within 3 months. This is mainly for rooted crops or leafy greens. Manure is also great for heavy feeding crops and fast growing crops. And the 2 ways to get manure that I found works the best is either store-bought, or you can go to a local farm and get some manure from them. So the 5th way to improve your soil quality is by using deep-rooted crops to bring the nutrients from the bottom of your soil all the way to the top. So essentially what you're doing is you're planting crops that have deeper roots. So say this is the top of your soil. You have roots that go down further, and rainwater, your watering that you've done yourself will push nutrients down to the bottom over time. And most plants, most crops that you harvest don't have that deep roots. So it absorbs the nutrients and pulls it to the surface. So after you've planted these crops and they have pulled the majority of the nutrients up, one thing you can do is throw it into the compost, which will recycle it and go back into your garden eventually. Or you can chop it off like the cover crops and just use it as a mulch and leave the roots in. You can take the roots out. There's plenty of uses for it. Taking the roots out will aerate the soil itself. One thing to keep in mind is you want to cut before they start seeding. And the deep-rooted crop method is best for in-ground beds. With raised garden beds, you already just add the soil yourself. The number 6 method to improve the quality of your soil is to use a raised garden bed. 1, you can put whatever you want in it, so you can balance it out properly. 2, it'll prevent foot traffic, which packs down the soil and is terrible for roots. It also regulates temperature fluctuations, so another side benefit is you can get longer growing seasons in a raised garden bed. If you live in a temperature that has off seasons, you get around 1 month earlier and then extends your growing season about 1 month. So the seventh and final method is to try to avoid tilling your garden excessively. The main thing with tilling is it disrupts the garden's ecosystem, and to make a good ecosystem, it takes years to build that with the microbes and everything kind of working together. So by tilling it, you disrupt it. It's like breaking something, I guess, for a little bit of time. It takes a while to fix itself. So I avoid tilling if you can. Raised garden beds is good for that. And if you have problems with your soil, just add compost on top and eventually it'll make its way down into the soil by itself. Everything will balance out in the end. Thank you guys for watching this video. Everything I mentioned is in the description below. Video here for your compost, how to get free compost. And if you haven't already, subscribe, smash the like button. I'll see you in the next one.